Hello everyone and welcome to Winshuttle Transaction Advanced 1 training. I'm Miia from ADSOTECH, your Winshuttle partner in the Nordics, and I'm here to guide you through our 3 training packages: Basic, Advanced 1 and Advanced 2. These packages are designed for new Winshuttle transaction users with the developer license. We are now in the Advanced 1 training package, which includes multi-line recordings, reading from SAP, script linking, taking backups, and data validation. This is the third part of that package, and we'll go through how to link scripts together and run a chain of SAP actions. Let's dive in. Whenever we talk about script linking, this is what we're trying to say in picture format right here. So we want to have 3 different scripts. Well, why do we want to have 3 different scripts? We actually want to go through 3 different transactions in SAP. We can only have one transaction in one script. So in this case, we will create 3 different scripts, one for MM01, another for ME11, and a third for ME21N. But from our business process perspective, or from the user's process perspective, this is one thing that they need to do. Yes, it is 3 different transactions in SAP, and therefore 3 different scripts. But what the user wants to do is simply input all of the data to the Excel template and then click run and have all of this happen at that time. We can do this by linking. What we do with these 3 different scripts, we create links from the first script MM01 to the second script ME11, and from the second script ME11 to the third script ME21N. Means that we actually create a chain of scripts. So whenever we click run for MM01 script, that script runs. It runs through the whole Excel file, through the whole template. Whatever data is there, it will process through that and then pass the torch onto the second script, ME11. Again, that script will go through all the data in the Excel file, and when it's finished, that will start working and pass the turn over to the third script, ME21N. And of course, this is not limited to 3 scripts being linked together. We can have 5, 8, 15, 35 scripts linked back to back if that will be the desired scenario. So the point is that one script launches another script once itself has finished working. And like I said, we can chain as many scripts together as we want. One link that we create is only between 2 files. So it's from one file to the next file. And then that next file might have a link of its own to a following script. And again, that script might have a link to a following script, and so on. So there is no limit to how many links we can create back to back, how long a chain of scripts we can create. One script can only have one link to a following script. So I cannot have one script that has 3 links to 3 different scripts. That's not possible. Of course, I can always make a copy of my script, and then that copy can have a different link to a different file. But from one script, you cannot launch 3 different links and 3 different scripts to execute. So one link per script. How do you do this link? How do you create one? Well, first of all, you need to have let's talk about 2 scripts. We want to link 2 scripts together. First of all, you need to have both scripts available and ready. And I strongly recommend that you test both scripts separately. So you create the first one, you test it out, you're happy with that. You move on to the next one, you create that, and you test it out as well. Now that you're happy with both of those scripts, you can go to your first script. So when I say first script, this is chronologically speaking in relation to the links. So which one is the one that you want to run first, and which one is the second one that you need to follow the first one. So you have that first script open and you see the run window. Again, on the right side of your screen you have the advanced run options, the blue vertical bar on the right side of your screen. When you click that, one of the options that you see in the side panel there is link transaction script, something like what you see here as a screenshot. So the link option, tick that on, and then you are able to fetch the following script from your file directory using the magnifying glass button right there. Just find the script, the second script, the following script from your file directory, and you have a link. I do suggest that you take the time to also consider the carry settings that we have right there. These apply to the link that we have just created. So we have carry settings for the Excel file, the sheet, and the start and end row, all referring to the Excel file. But what does it mean? Going back to what I said previously about linked scripts, the user wants to click the run button once, and then all the scripts will follow automatically, one after the other one. The user's interface, all the options that he sees when he sees the run button, that doesn't change. That remains exactly the same. It doesn't matter if there are linked scripts to be run or a single script. What he sees is one start row, one end row, one Excel file, one Excel sheet name, and so on. So the question here is, do we want the following script to use the same Excel file, the same sheet in that Excel file, and most importantly, do we want the following script to use the same start and end row? Start and end row is something that very often the user changes depending on the need that he has. Does he want to run all the data that he has in the Excel file, or does he want to run only specific rows somewhere in the middle, in the beginning, in the end? Doesn't matter. So start and end row is something that a user might change every single time that he sets up a run. The question with the link is, do we want those start and end rows to be passed on to the following script as well, or should the following script always use its own default settings regards to the start and end row, but also sheet name and file name? If both scripts should always use the same file, same sheet, and same start and end row, then very simply tick on all of these options. And if the data is in the same file but on different sheets, then you can tick on file but leave the sheet unticked, and so on. So you have to think about what your scripts are going to do, where the data is, where it should be, and what rows should be run. Whenever you link scripts together, as I said before, you should create and test your scripts individually first. Those scripts, even though you plan to link them together, those scripts can use different Excel files as their input. That's technically fine. I do not advocate for it, but it is technically possible, as long as your company is not using what we call central as your license administration tool. Your scripts could also be sharing the same Excel file as their input, as their data template. And I do advocate for this option. Simply from the end user perspective, if you have, let's say, 3 scripts linked together, if they all have different Excel files for their data, then this user needs to remember to open all 3 Excel files and check the data, input correct data, and things like that. Much easier for the end user if all the 3 scripts have one Excel file as input. It could be different sheets in that Excel file, but much easier for the end user to fill in one Excel file and then just start the run. That's why I advocate for using the same Excel file as input for all linked scripts. And like I said, within that one Excel file, your scripts can use the same worksheet or a different worksheet. That doesn't matter. From a practical perspective, I would say if the data and the design of the Excel sheet looks very, very similar for different scripts, then I would try and put the data for different scripts on one sheet. But if it looks very, very different, for instance, one of the scripts is using a loop and the others are not, then at least I would separate the loop script's data to a different worksheet. All the different combinations of the above is fine. So I'm meaning that if I have, let's say, 4 scripts linked together, the 2 first ones can use the same Excel file, even the same sheet within that Excel file. The third one technically could use a different Excel file altogether, and the fourth one could be using that the same Excel file as the 2 first ones, but use a different sheet in that Excel file. I do recommend to use the one Excel file for all linked scripts and then figuring out whether to use different worksheets or the same worksheet. But technically it is possible to use different Excel files as well. And the combination that you use is completely up to you, what the right solution is for your need right then and there. Alright, let's look at an example. I have a script already here that does some reading from SAP. And I have tested it out. It seems to be working just fine. So what I'll do is I'll create another script, a second script that's able to do an update in SAP. And then I will, of course, create the script, test it, and then make the link between the 2 scripts. Let's start by taking a look at my Excel file. It's right here. So my first script is pretty much what we created in our example in the previous training part. That is reading from SAP. So it's a fairly simple script, giving a material number to SAP and then fetching description and basic material and the weights from SAP to Excel. What our scenario is in my simple example right now is that yes, we want to see material description and basic material and the weights. But what we want to update back to SAP is a completely new gross weight. Let's say we had a change of packing material or something similar. So our gross weights will grow, let's say 2 kilograms. I have a formula here for the new gross weight. So it's simply taking the old gross weight and adding 2 kilograms to it. And that's it. What I want my new script, which I'm about to create, what I want that script to do is simply go to these materials and put in the new gross weight. And that's it. Very, very simple. Let's create that script. So from here, new, in SAP, of course, we need to give a material number. Go to basic data 1. And then for our script right now, all we need to do is record the gross weight, like so. Now we can click back, get prompted to save, and we'll get back to Winshuttle. Now create the mapping. Very, very simple and short script. All we have is a material number and the gross weight, but that's exactly what we wanted. Now, as I said before, I always recommend that when you create linked scripts, or that's your goal, to have your scripts linked together, I always recommend that you use one Excel file as input for all of those linked scripts. So that's what I want to do here as well. You already saw my Excel file. I've already set it up so that I have that new gross weight there and things like that. So it's already pretty much ready, my Excel file. So I will use that same Excel file. Click open from there to open my existing Excel file. And there we are. Now just dragging and dropping again, as we have done so many times before. So material number here in A, of course I will use the same material numbers like that. Gross weight, this is the new gross weight now, so I want that one to be taken from H, like that. You might notice that I don't get the Winshuttle default header here in column H. Actually, I did not get it here in A either. It was already there. The reason for that is that this is an existing Excel file where I already have headers and possible data and things like that. So when my Excel file already has a name, Winshuttle does not want to overwrite anything that I might have in the Excel file. Just in case that it overread something that I didn't want overwritten. So Winshuttle does not do any changes in my Excel file at that point. As soon as I have given my Excel file a name, Winshuttle won't do any changes to it. But for the mapping, the important part is here. The mapping types have changed and the values will be taken from A and H, and that's exactly what I wanted. I'm happy with that. Let's close mapping. When I was closing mapping, Winshuttle only asked me to save the script file because the Excel file was already saved and no changes were made to it. So I'm happy with that. Now I can test my script, this new update script. Let's check again. My Excel file has exactly what it's supposed to have. Save that one more time. Let's also check what is going to be, or what should be, my log column for this script. Based on this orange color, I think I have planned on having column L as the log message, but would it be for the first script or the second script? Do I want them to be in different columns? Usually I do, so let's use L for the first script and then M for the second script, so this script. So that would be M. Simple as that, just to change the log column there. and I can start running my script. And there we go. All rows were processed successfully, so materials were changed. This script seems to be working. I tested previously that the first script also works just fine. What I need to do now is create the link. The link needs to be done from the first script. This being the second, I need to close this and open the first script. I can either go back from here to the main window and open my first script from there, or I can use the change link here to close this one. Yes, of course, we can save the changes and then find the script that I actually need opened, which is that one. Great. At this point, I just want to make sure that my settings here are correct. For instance, the log column. What did I want as my log column for this one? I wanted L. So let's change that. Like so. Of course, I can also run the script one more time just to test it. If I want to make sure that I actually see the data coming back from SAP, I can also do this. But it doesn't matter if the data is there. Like we did in the previous training part, the read from SAP, I can have whatever data I want here, and it will still be overridden when the script runs. And there we have the data. Also the log message from this script, which only says that there's no message to be printed. Great. Now to the actual linking. My first script is here. That works. The second script works as well. We're now here in the first script. We go to Advanced Run Options. Here in the middle, Link Transaction Script. Using my magnifying glass to look for that second script, which is there. Now the data file carry settings. I have already mapped both scripts to the same Excel file, so that's a given. It's already in the default settings of both scripts, so that's fine. In fact, I also mapped both of them to the same sheet as well, so that's easy to tick on. Now about start and end row. If I run the first script for rows 2 and 3, do I want the second script to run for rows 2 and 3 only as well? Or for all of the data that's there in Excel? Or do I want it always to run for rows 2 to 100, or what's the deal? In this particular instance, since I'm reading data from SAP and then via a formula in Excel, changing that data, the weights, to something new, I would say that I always want both scripts to process the exact same rows. So I will tick that on as well. If I don't tick this on, I'll leave it blank like this. It means that the second script will not use the start and end row of the first script, but instead the second script will use its own default settings. And I think I left the start and end row at my last save. I think I left it at 2 and 11. So it would always run rows 2 to 11. Of course, I can go back to that script and change the default start and end row as well. But at this point, it will be 2 to 11. But I want both scripts to always run the same rows, so I will select it like this. And whenever I do changes in the advanced run options, as a control freak, I want to click Save just to make sure that that setting will also stay there. All right. Now we can run the linked script series just fine from here. So again, we have the first script open here. We have a link from this script to a following script. So when we start running this script, the second script will automatically start working after this first script has finished. So we start this script. While the script is running, check out the name of the file right here. As soon as this script has finished working, you will notice that the file name changes right there. It has changed, so we have moved on to the second script, and that keeps working. When it finishes, we're done. Now that we're done, we have 2 log messages in Excel. Of course, all the data, the current data from SAP that was fetched, and of course the new gross weight calculated as well. And all of the new gross weights are already updated in SAP as well, based on this log message right here. That concludes the third part of our Advanced 1 package for Winshuttle transaction. So far, we have learned how to use loops, read data from SAP, and link scripts together. Please join me in the next part, which is the last one for this package, covering how to take backups and validate data. It's been a pleasure. Thank you for joining.